Be a Mathematician by Lisa Goodson. Even before Mia entered school, numbers floated in her head. Numbers jumped out all around her, in the kitchen, in the car, even while lying in bed. Her mom worried. Mia doesn't do what other kids do. Dad wondered, doesn't she play with her blocks and make imaginary stew? Yes, she sighed, but in the most unusual way. Let's watch her closely and take notice of patterns while she plays. Mia sat alone as she always did, carefully cutting Play-Doh and measuring each strip. The size of each part was the exact same, and she did it in a whip. She counted out numbers, made lines and dots to mark her place. She connected her points to make angles and all sorts of shapes. From room to room, Mia would go, calculating, counting, and figuring out all there is to know. How come the numbers go up to 12 on my ruler and the clock? Mia counted every line around the combination lock. In the car, she asked, what is that? Why does it go around and end with an O? Mom said, it's an odometer, and the numbers end in 0. The proper names of things you have to know. Odometer and 0, she repeated several times. Why does each of those zeros have different numbers in front was the question on her mind. 20, 30, 40, 50 miles per hour. Mia and her mom counted each number as the car went faster and faster. Oh, so fast. They counted the numbers backwards, and the car slowed down at last. Dad blurted out, maybe she's a little unique. Mom sighed. Is it normal for kids to count and calculate every time they speak? Maybe Mr. Rogers could help us figure this out. Surely Mia's teacher will help clear up our doubts. Mr. Rogers paused and said calmly, Mia's curiosity of calculations and numbers lead me to believe that Mia is on a mission to be a great mathematician. They both exclaimed, a who? He continued, Mia counts backwards, forwards, and recognizing all of her numbers. She calculates, solves problems, crunches numbers of all kinds. She has a true mathematician's mind. Mia sometimes even counts mentally in her head. She figures out solutions but chooses not to share her answers instead. Mr. Rogers cleared his voice. But there is something that concerns me. She sits alone and speaks to no one. I'm beginning to feel Mia is a bit lonely. So her parents did what any good parents would do. They set up a play date for her and Allie Lou. When Allie came to play, she bought her dolls, nail polish, kit, and tea set to display. Let's have a tea party first, she said with a smile on her face. Mia stacked all the teacups and counted them each. She grouped them and sorted them by color, size, and put them out of Allie's reach. At lunch, Mia measured the sandwiches into equal parts and shared to make it fair. She whispered, I ate 4 out of 4. Do you have any pieces left to spare? Allie Lou asked, may I have a cup of water? Her voice sounded so nice. Mia used a measuring cup to be precise. Allie Lou said, I don't want to play with you. Mia hung her head low and felt so blue. Mia, you're on a mission to be a mathematician. Mia's parents watched in amazement. Then it finally hit them. Mia, you have a gift, the way that you can calculate and crunch numbers of all sizes. You are on a mission to be a great mathematician. That night, they cheered her up by reading math books about flying numbers, books about millions of stripes on a single giraffe, and a book about 100 ways to make 100. Mia dreamt that night that she was surrounded by flying numbers while lying in her bed. She woke up and said, "Being a mathematician is in my head. I'm a mathematician." When she went to school, Mr. Rogers had a word problem on the chart paper for the class to solve. Some of the numbers were big and some were small. Everyone sat quietly when the teacher asked, "How many in all?" Mia wanted to speak, but she sat quiet and remembered the time her classmates called her a freak. Then the numbers filled her head, and she said to herself, "A mathematician will not be afraid." She chose instead to be brave. Mia began to use mental strategies to comprehend. The answer is less than the original number because some were taken away and split among friends. Then a friend added on at the end. She started to mark up her paper, then ran out of the room and started to mark up her desk right in her classroom. Then she pushed up her glasses and walked slowly to the chart. Watching her calculate was a true work of art. She drew two 10 frames and wrote a number sentence underneath. She drew base 10 drawings, then crossed out a few. Her classmates sat in disbelief. Mia did not realize her whole class stood around her and were stunned. The silence was broken by the sound of Mia's squeaky voice. 110 and 7 ones equals 17. All done. Mr. Rogers smiled. Quite sophisticated, I'll say. Mia, you are a mathematician on this very day. The class jumped up and down to celebrate this quiet kid that had only just now come to understand. Mia, the mathematician, they yelled and waved their hands. Math is the best. Soon, Mia's playdates and classroom were filled with mathematicians, but one by one, they began to join Mia's mission. As for Mia, numbers continued to float in her head. Calculating and crunching numbers is what she did. She continued to learn all that she could, discovering new numbers, patterns, and ways to problem solve, for she was on a mission. Mia, the mathematician. About the author. Lisa Howardson Goodson spent many years in the education system as a New York City educator and a principal. She is passionate about reading and learning. She loves to spend time with her 3 children, traveling and singing karaoke. She also spends time with her dog, Chloe, who, by the way, she is still trying to potty train. Not an easy quest. Lisa spends much of her time brainstorming characters and creating stories for children to read. Sometimes, even at work, she catches herself brainstorming fascinating characters and stories. She is on a mission, just like her newest character, Mia. Lisa's mission is to expand the boundaries of children's imagination. Sharing her gift of writing is her purpose and true calling. She lives in Long Island, New York, where most days you can find her curled up reading a good book or somewhere, couch, desk, airport, mall, doing what she loves best, writing.